So I specialize in helping seniors downsize. They require a little extra care, a little extra hand-holding than some agents are able to give. I grew up in North Dakota on a farm, so my dad was a workaholic, so I got the hard-working gene from my dad. But I will do the extra things to help my clients, like pressure washing. I just did that for a client, 20 hours worth of pressure washing. So I had another lady whose basement had flooded. I went over and I was helping her clean it all up, get it all out. Cleaning, organizing, all that little stuff. I don't mind doing those touches. I feel that they really appreciate it. One thing about when you work with seniors, they really appreciate things you do. So that's one of the things that I really like too. It's nice to be appreciated, right? And then they're great at giving you good referrals. I mean, they'll talk you up to beat the band, you know. So, but you know, they have so much history, so much that they want to say. So if you could just sit and listen to them, sometimes it's amazing what you can learn from them. So I moved to Minnesota in 1984. It was supposed to be for 1 year, but you know, I'm still here. So Minnesota kind of gets under your skin. It's become my home. It's my home, been my home my whole adult life, basically. So we'll just go into here and it'll tell more about me. But so today's going to be a little bit different than what I normally do. So I have got 3 boys. So my oldest, Chris, my middle, Billy, he has some special needs. So part of the reason that I do what I do is so that I can leave something for him. And then Dylan is my youngest son. And then Courtney, she is the middle or second child. I have 7 grandchildren. There's Brendan, Lily, Emmy, and the 2 twins right there. They're all Chris's. And then Courtney has got 2 boys, or a boy and a girl. I've got 2 dogs, 2 cats, and this is my sister, who is also my best friend. I'm very lucky. And then my niece, who's her daughter. And I'll go into a little more detail later as to why I've got her up there. So, a leap of faith. I was working for TSA for 20 years. I was making over $90,000 a year as a W-2 employee. So I didn't get into real estate because I needed more money. I was pretty comfortable where I was. But I had this calling, this mission that I just needed to do more with my life. I needed to leave something behind. So I left there and I became a full-time self-employed real estate agent. The first year, so for a few years I did both. And I was working full-time actually on both, which is really difficult, you know, but anyway. So here is my mission. It's turning pain into purpose. I have a personal mission to open a family-based treatment center. And the reason I have this, I'll go into a little bit farther, but it's going to be nonprofit, family-based, a full treatment center for both drugs and alcohol. This is my vision. So if you all picture it with me, the more people I can envision it, the more likely it comes to place. I believe in the power of manifestation too, as long as you do the work behind it. So I want 20 acres, I want it to be on a lake, I want a dock so they can go fishing and reconnect with their families. I want a men's unit, women's unit, a family unit, and a dog kennel. And that's for the rescue dogs that are going to help vets, because I want to have them trained as service animals, because a lot of vets end up being addicts. And I'll go into that a little bit here too. So behind the mission, the niece that I told you I'd tell you about later, she used to be a heroin addict for many years, many years. She had gone through some stuff when she was younger, and that's her car. If you saw that sitting on the road, would you think anybody would have walked away? Well, there she is, and with her daughter, and they've reconnected since she got sober. And then I talked about vets, and so that's my dad. with the crew cut, the whole time I grew up, he just worked and worked and worked, and when he wasn't working, he was sleeping or watching the news, and he even slept in the truck when it was harvesting season. But he always was pretty quiet and always had a crew cut, right? Well, one year I go home, and there he is. Beard down to hair, and he's laughing, he's jovial, I've never seen him before. Well, he was diagnosed with PTSD. He was a Korean War vet. And through, all these years, he could have been a person that was happy instead of just what people expected from him. So that's and then my son, my oldest son, was an alcoholic, and he's been sober for 1.5 years now, so he's doing really well. So there's, everybody has reasons for the reason they want to do things, right? So homes that heal. The reason I got into real estate is because at $90,000 a year, I was making $96,000 when I finally left. I can live fairly comfortably, right? But I can't create this mission that I want. So I got into real estate, and it's very important to me that everybody leaves a 5-star review, and that's what I've gotten so far from everyone. And there's just a few people I've helped and some things they've said. So the opportunities in the current market, there's 2 key reasons that a house won't sell. There's really only 2 reasons a house won't sell. 1, it's not priced right. Or 2, it's not marketed properly. Other than those 2, can anybody think of another reason a house wouldn't sell? If you reduce the price low enough, it will sell, right? But you shouldn't have to reduce it if you've got it priced right to begin with. So the right price, great marketing, equals sold. Now, so I have a little chart here. It shows, the percent of buyers. So if you have your house priced right at market value, about 60% of the buyers are going to see it. When you go over that, just by 10%, because there's some people that think, well, I'll price it here and they can negotiate down. People don't do that with houses. They look up to their top line and they don't look past that necessarily. Some do, but a lot don't. Because they're only approved to this. So why look at houses higher than that? So, and then if you get at 15%, only 10% of the buyer pool is seeing your listing. If you go below that, 10% below, you got 75%. If you go 15% below, you got 90%. I used to be a strong advocate, and depending on the market, I still am, of pricing your house, at 10 to even 15% less than the value just to get more eyes and then get bidding wars. But in today's climate, things are a little bit different. People are pretty much paying the asking price and then asking for some concessions. So because that's the current market, I'm recommending you price it at its market value right now. Now, once that changes and you have more people that are paying over asking, then that would switch. But that's the way I'm leaning right now. But I just advise, it's up to my clients as to what they will sell it for. And I won't take a home that's overpriced unless we have something in writing that in 2 weeks, if they don't have enough, so many people coming in, and if there's no offers, then they have to be willing to reduce it. Because if they want to just test the water for a couple of weeks, okay, fine. I'll still market it heavily. I'll still pay for the photography and all of that. But I'm not going to waste my time or theirs for something that's not going to sell that they're not going to be happy with. So to create a CMA is a comparative market analysis. Different people do them differently. I have been using RPR. I used to do it with Cloud CMA and stuff, but I'll just pass one set around here. So the data that I've got up here is actually, I just did this at like 3 o'clock this morning. So I'll use RPR to pull basic facts, and I'm trying to find homes that are very similar. So when you look at Zillow, what I've got up here are, this is RPR, and that's RPR. This is Zillow, and this is tax records from the MLS. So I look at Zillow because people look at it. People are going to look at Zillow and they're going to think that's what their home is valued at. People are going to look at their tax records, and taxes have changed. They used to be less than the property value, but that's changed. It's even a lot of times it's more than the actual property value, and that's so that they can charge you more for taxes. So if your taxes are high, that's another reason to get a CMA sometimes, is just to see if your home is valued properly for taxes, because you might be overpaying on taxes and you can dispute it. So there's another reason to get a CMA, even if you're not looking at selling, you just want to know the value of your home. And I'd be happy to provide one free if you want one. There do have to be comparables for me to be able to pull one. I don't like to just pull one out of the air thinking, well, this is what I think it's worth. I have to see comparables. There has to be some history. I do 3 months back, and I'll use RPR and see what they pull up automatically, and then I'll look at the MLS and see if there's some that they missed that fit it more. I will then go through, and the ones that I selected thinking they were the most comparable, I'll select them, and then you can look at the pictures online. And when I actually send this to somebody, they get the electronic copy so they can look at all the pictures of all the other listings that I used for comparison. But I can slide that bar, whether the comparable property is better or worse than the subject property, and that'll adjust the value. So yeah, like I said, I do look at Zillow just because I want to be able to speak to them as to why my value is different than Zillow's, because they just do an algorithm. They don't actually physically look through the other houses, either physically or online. They just say, okay, well, these houses sold in this area and they had this much square feet. Well, it might be a completely different style of house. It might not be comparable at all. And they don't, the years don't matter. The age of the home doesn't matter as far as Zillow goes. So, like, my value on this home was quite a bit less than Zillow and the taxable value. But if you look at the pictures of the home, would you pay $377,000 for that home? So what I do for marketing that's different is I use strategic marketing, from professional photography to targeted digital ads. I also will mail out postcards, a minimum of 300 to the neighbors, because a lot of times neighbors know somebody who wants to live in the area, right? And active listings are actually your current competition. So even though an active listing, you can't really say, well, it's priced at, X amount, so my house should be worth that. Well, it's not saying that's what it's going to sell it for, So, but we do want to know what the competition is, because you don't want to be priced higher than a home that is selling down the street that's been updated more. Let's see. So I run Facebook ads, Instagram ads, and I do the paid ads, not just the free. I create a video walkthrough. Well, Ryan does for me, right? And I even retarget people who have viewed homes online that are similar. So as people are viewing ads that I've posted, they will start seeing other homes that are similar to what they've already seen. Everything I do is designed to create emotion, urgency, and visibility. Because when you list with me, it's not just about putting your home on the MLS and hoping for the best. It's about getting the job done with a strategy. And for luxury homes, I am EXP Luxury certified. With that, I get some additional features, like they can be featured on the Robb Report, the James Edition, Mansion Global, Unique Homes, Barron's Report, Market Watch, Wall Street Journal, Luxury Real Estate, upmarket, and there's 80 plus international sites. So Minnesota is a lot cheaper than a lot of other states, and a lot of people are moving from California to other places. So it's nice that they can see it too, especially if you've got, you know, a $2 million home on Lake Minnetonka, right? And same with international. So you want to be able to reach those people. And in addition to the online, well, I already told you I send out the postcards. Now here's what I want to, the part that I hope sticks with you today. Every transaction I close, every referral I receive, every agent I bring into my EXP downline, it all builds toward my goal of opening that treatment center. This isn't just about real estate, it's about real change. I believe business can be a vehicle for healing, and I'm on a mission to show how it is possible. So if you know somebody who needs a realtor, who goes the extra mile, or an agent who wants more support and guidance, send them my way. I'd be honored to help. And if my story moved you, I'd love your support in building this vision, whether that's through a referral, a connection, or simply keeping me in mind when you hear somebody talk about real estate. Does anybody have any questions? No? Thank you.